Okay. Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Bill Rice Jr. I am
And I'm Mike Amos Sr.
Well, I was getting ready to introduce you. Hold your horses. I'm manning the desk. I bet everybody can guess where Mike Amos is. Good morning, Mike. Tell us where you are.
Well, I'm overlooking the beautiful Gulf of Mexico this morning as the sun is approaching us, and it looks like another beautiful day. It was gorgeous yesterday down here, and it looks to be even more beautiful today. It's a little cool to start today, but yesterday it got to be real nice, and went out and ate some good seafood, and had a good time, and met with some buddies of mine, and it was just a great day down here on the Gulf of Mexico.
I've read that we're going to get some more real bad winter weather, especially in the north. There's going to be some blizzards.
I know it.
It has been cold throughout most of the United States for over a month, I would say. You know, we had that spell where it was unseasonably warm, but winter did not miss us this year.
Yeah. You know, that's bad, but I was reading something, I actually saw something on TV last night. They were talking about Russia and Russia invading
the Ukraine.
You
know, I couldn't even tell you. I could. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
You know what the biggest adversary is for Russia?
No.
Is the unreal cold weather would damage their equipment.
Oh.
I mean, it's so darn cold over there that they can't afford to bring a lot of their equipment out because they're afraid it'll freeze. We don't even know what cold is until we get over into Russia and the Ukraine.
You know,
I'm so cold.
I'm not the history student I wish I was, but I've got a little interest in history, and that's one of my takeaways from the study of World War II is that really Hitler and Germany messed up big time when they declared war on who? The Soviet Union. That's right.
Yeah.
They were actually making great strides in the war, and Russia was one of their allies early on, and then they turn around and declare war on Russia, and they marched towards Moscow and invade Russia. Well, what stopped them? It was they took tremendous care. The weather, yeah, you're right. So
they say we don't know what cold weather is until you go get over there. Because they say it stays cold all the time.
You know, I've read a little bit about the geopolitics involved in the America and Russia and the West relations with each other. And a lot of people think that what's driving all of this is control over natural gas. Russia has huge reserves of natural gas. They can provide natural gas to people. Why is natural gas important? Because it heats homes.
That's right.
And there's apparently big pipeline projects that are involved. And the thought is that if Russia has all these pipelines and can trade, that they can make tremendous amount of money selling natural gas to the world, so people don't freeze. And so then you would say the Americans do not want Russia to have all that money and access to this, selling all this natural gas. So that might, that very well might be playing a role in some of this.
And of course, we signed an agreement. Tell us about that.
I haven't been following it close, just like you have. I know the headlines that everybody seems to be fairly concerned about the prospect of war. I'm personally, I'm not. I mean, I can't think that the leaders of Russia and America and the Ukraine would be that stupid to start a risk of global war.
What you got to worry about here is you're right. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to go to war, but sometimes you can have an accident. And there's plenty of opportunities to have an accident that could trigger something like that. That's what scares me.
Me too, Mike. Yeah, and some of these accidents is probably not accidents. You can. There's been lots of wars that started over events that some people think might have been staged.
Yeah, and another thing, tricky, just silly pride. Sometimes silly pride can get involved in it too, and like one leader don't want to look bad, and ends up burning a war out of it, or a conflict out of it. Hopefully, we don't have to fool with it.
Well, I'm gonna make an admission right here. If you gave me a world map, I'm fairly educated. I could not pinpoint where the country of Ukraine is. I guess I need to find out. How about you? Could you find the Ukraine on the map?
Well, Michael hopefully will be in a minute with his computer, and maybe so we will find out something about where it's located and everything.
Well, I assume it's somewhere near part of the old Soviet Union and near Russia. And but so we've got, here's what we got going on in the world. We got this threat of war. We got massive inflation. We got Michael calling in from Grayton Beach, Florida.
Yes,
Hold
sir.
on, let me get him. Guten Morgen.
Morning.
Let me ask you a question. If I put a map of the world in front of you with no countries listed on it, could you identify the nation of Ukraine?
It's like used to be a part of Russia, I guess, isn't it?
David.
Well, no, they don't. That would be the worst thing to say, that they're part of Russia, because that's what Russia's arguing about.
They used to be a part of the Soviet Union, I guess, didn't they?
Okay, here Steve has called it up. So it's right southwest of Russia border, right between Romania and Russia. Then above Romania you've got Finland, and then to the right of Finland, east of, you got Belarus, and then below that Ukraine, and then there is a body of water, some kind of sea right below Ukraine. That might make it important. And then below that you have Turkey, and then Syria. So all kind of stuff happening in that part of the world. Thanks, man.
Well, the big issue is that they don't. Russia does not want Ukraine to be a part of the
NATO.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm probably going to be called out and said I'm a government agent for Russia, but I do understand Russia's gripe is that NATO is getting tighter and tighter and forming a noose around Russia.
That's right.
All these countries that used to be part of the Soviet bloc have left the Soviet Union, and now they're being lobbied to join NATO. And so now you ask yourself the question, how would America react if some enemy was putting military bases and a military alliance all around, Canada and then Mexico and then...
See, Mexico's a good example of that, of some similar various, and of course, who would think Mexico would ever be an ally of Russia, but, you can't tell,
Well,
I watched the second half of the Troy game last night, and I wish I wouldn't have. My God, South Alabama just destroyed Troy in the second half. I mean, they were so athletic. They've got 5 transfers that start. 2 are from Auburn. One's from Texas A&M. He scored 26. One's from LSU. He scored 20. And then the other guy's from TCU. And then I think they got 2 or 3 other guys that transferred in from big-time colleges. But they look like an SEC team.
Well, let me tell you what Troy can't do, and I hate to say it, but in basketball today, if you can't shoot the 3, you can't win. Troy cannot shoot the three. They're the worst shooting three-point team that I can think of.
Yeah, but I mean, they won 13 games this year. They really just win because they can guard.
Yeah,
usually, they couldn't guard anybody last night. They actually out-rebounded South Alabama, which is surprising. But, man, I'll tell you what, Coach Cross, I've seen some guys get thrown out of games before. He got his money's worth. My God. He went out on the court and went after this official when Troy's guy got fouled. It looked like it was an obvious foul. Didn't get called. And Troy's big guy, Diggy, was in foul trouble all night. He had 4 fouls, and it looked like South Alabama was getting the benefit of the doubt on the fouls compared to Troy. But he went after that referee like I hadn't seen it. I mean, he looked like he was ready to fight him. And the next thing you know, he gets pulled back from the coaches, and then he goes after Doug Childs, and Doug Childs throws him out of the game immediately. And Coach Cross
Doug Childs is probably the top official out there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but I mean, I love the fire out of Coach Cross last night. I've never seen a coach. I've never seen him definitely ever get into it that much of a ref. But man, he was as mad as any coach you'll ever see.
He did it. Yeah. The reason a lot of times you'll get a technical and you'll go back and they'll, like you said, the assistant coaches will keep him from getting the second technical. Well, in this case, hey, he wanted his second violation to be what would actually kick him out of the game, and it did. And it was supposed to fire the Troy team up, but it didn't look like it fired them up to me, you know?
Well, I mean, the game was pretty much over. I mean, I think they were down by 12 when he got the tee, and then they made 4 straight from the line, and they got possession. But I tell you what, that's good to see a coach to be that fiery and have that much passion. I actually like to see that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, man, there's just a lack of talent between Troy and South Alabama. I mean, if Troy beat South Alabama on Saturday, I would consider it one of the biggest wins we've had in Division I. That's how good I think South Alabama is.
Well, let's go beat them. I mean, who cares if you lose by 20 or 1? It's a loss. But if you can get it right back.
And let's say this: it's just like a street fight. If you're gonna get back at a guy you just got in a fight with, it's good that it's just a day or two away. That we can make everything.
Yeah, I would imagine the refs for that game are going to definitely have to talk to the coaches and the teams because it could get heated on Saturday, especially if Troy has a good crowd, which I would think they will have a good crowd because they're advertising for it.
Now, did you watch it on TV or what did you do?
I watched it on TV. Yeah, ESPN Plus.
But see, I didn't watch it I listened to it on the radio, but.
What type of crowd did South Alabama have? Was it a good crowd?
Well, they had about 6 or 7,000 probably.
Pretty good.
See, they're a big basketball school. They really are. Right now, I would almost say that basketball is bigger than football for
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it always has been. They've never even. They've only been to 1 bowl game. They've never even had a winning record at South Alabama Division I.
Hey, what time is the tip-off at Troy, South Alabama, Saturday?
I think Dad said 4.
I want to say 4 o'clock. Michael, is that true? 4 o'clock?
Check that for us, Michael, and see so we can tell everybody.
Troy goes to 13-7, 4-3 in the conference. And South Alabama, I think, has won 5 or 6 in a row, and now have beat Troy 7 straight times in basketball.
I know, yeah, that's not good. You know, they
let's see here. Actually, it says 6 o'clock on Saturday.
All right, everybody hear that? 6 o'clock Saturday, be at Trojan Arena. All kind of fun promotions, discounts. I think kids under 12 get in free if you adults buy a ticket.
I'll say this.
And you're going to see a really, really good team that Michael has just told us is full of former SEC players. Should be a great basketball game. And if Troy could win, it would be one of the bigger wins in Trojan Arena ever, I guess.
And of course, back to Coach Cross, it's not his personality to be like he was last night, so fiery, but he had just had enough, and you could just see from what I gather, you could just see that he was burning to get after those officials.
Look, Michael, when I came in and realized that I was going to be manning the desk, I said I need some prep material, so I found one of your old Montgomery Advertisers, and I see a story that Montgomery Catholic defensive back commits to Clemson. That is the third Division I player that is going to sign a scholarship at a big-time school from Montgomery Catholic. I think they all played on defense, so you got a little private school in Montgomery that had 3 Division I Clemson SEC type prospects. That's something.
And the more that
here's the transfer players that are at South Alabama. Tyrell Jones, who's their starting guard, played at Auburn. Lance Thomas, who's a forward, played at Memphis. Greg Parham played at BMI originally before he transferred to South Alabama. Dante Smith, 6'6" forward, played at TCU before he transferred to South Alabama. Then they got a guy that can just jump out of the gym, this Siobhan Franklin guy that played at Auburn, 6'7", 220, transferred to South Alabama. And then their other star guard, Charles Manning Jr., 6'4", out of LSU, transferred to South Alabama. And then the guy that scored 26 last night, J.J. Chandler, another 6'4" guard, out of Texas A&M, transferred to South Alabama.
Okay, I wrote these down. Here's 7 key players for South Alabama. They came from Auburn, Memphis, which is a basketball school, VMI, which I think is a basketball school, TCU, Auburn again, LSU, and Texas A&M. So you're right. That is that's the nature of the beast in college basketball now.
Hard thing to believe about this, the Deontay Smith kid, though, 6'6", 189 junior, transferred from TCU, Fort Walton Beach. Coach Cross came from TCU. It seemed like he would have had that relationship with Jamie Dixon, and that kid would have transferred to Troy. I wonder, that would be interesting to talk to Coach Cross about.
Yeah. I can't wait to Coach Cross's son graduates from high school, and we will have him. I think right now, Troy might be the worst three-point shooting team that I've ever seen at Troy at any one time.
That's an amazing thing, though. That's an amazing thing, though, that they won 13 games, though, shooting through that.
You're right. You're right. But I hate to say it, and I didn't think I'd ever say it, but you've almost got to be able to hit 7 or 8 3-pointers to have a chance to win against anybody.
Yeah, it's a 3-point shooting. I think I read that who's the Clippers guard that just set the NBA record for all-time 3-point shots. I saw some stat that showed how many 3-point shots he shoots a game compared to Larry Bird. Now, this guy probably couldn't shoot any better than Larry Bird. He just shoots 4 times as many 3-point shots a game as Larry Bird used to.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not that Troy is not shooting the three. They shoot it a lot. They just missed it a lot. They just are not a good three.
I've been to several games, and I haven't seen one game where Troy lit it up or even had a decent field goal percentage from 3-point land.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right. An article that Bruce Pearl is linked to possibly the Louisville job. Boy, that'd break a lot of Auburn fans' heart if he took the Louisville job.
Evidently there's a lot of horse money behind that. What do you think? There's a lot of the big horse people want him to move on to play for them.
Well, he would be moving out of the SEC into the ACC. I don't know. I mean, he's doing pretty good in the SEC. I would stay right where he is. He's got it going on at Auburn.
Well, and of course, I would say that the ACC was a stronger league than the SEC. Would you?
Yeah, oh yeah. No doubt. I mean, the SEC is better, but when it comes to basketball, the ACC is king and has been for a long time. I guess the Big Ten would be second.
North Carolina would be the first two teams you mentioned, you know.
Yeah, interesting is in college football recruiting, Caleb Nix is headed to Clemson. That's Bo Nix's brother, but he's headed to Clemson as preferred walk-on. He actually had scholarship offers from Troy and other schools, but wanted to play at the highest level, so he'll go walk on and play at Clemson for Dabo Swinney. He threw for 3,000 yards last year for Central Phoenix City.
Oh, he's a quarterback too.
Yep. Well, he might be play another position too.
Well, you've got another year.
He threw for no, he graduated this year. He threw for 3,000 yards, 38 touchdowns, and rushed for 639 yards as well.
I read.
Did Auburn even recruit him?
I don't know.
I don't know if
that relationship at Auburn might be over.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I don't think this is over with. I don't think, Auburn people loved Bo Nix. They really did.
No, I don't know, Mike.
Did you think he would have?
Some Auburn people did, but some Auburn people were not completely sold.
He wasn't like a phenom at Auburn. I mean, he wasn't like like a Cam Newton or something.
No, I know it. You're right, but he was good, and evidently Oregon thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, the thing with him going to Oregon in the Pac-12, I think that probably would be a good league for him to go play in. I think he's athletic enough to be pretty productive out there.
The Auburn quarterback we forget about that was a game changer. Well, of course, Cam Newton was the mother of all game changers, but the running quarterback that was a defensive back at Georgia that played at Auburn for two years, that guy was really, really good. That was a stroke of genius for Malzahn to get him and make him back into a quarterback again, and he wasn't a bad passer either.
Now let me tell you this.
Yeah, he's the one that really was a great RPO guy.
Yeah, he was perfect for that offense. He was just the perfect quarterback for it.
If you look at it, and I don't know why this is the case, but I haven't even heard that much of this Bo's brother. I know those are nice stats and everything, but I have not heard anybody talking about him as a big-time recruit. So he's going to be a walk-on. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Rice. You're talking about Nick Marshall.
Thank you. I can't remember Nick Marshall, but he was another transfer. A running quarterback. That's what, with Malzahn's offense, it was just so clear to me that you had to have a quarterback that could carry the ball 15, 20 times a game. And then, Bo Nix might have been able to do that, but they really didn't use him that way.
Yeah, the top 20 passers in Auburn history of all time, Philip Gargas is number 20. He played from 74 to 76. Y'all remember him?
He was a wishbone quarterback.
I want to tell you, well, go ahead.
I've got a list. Pat Washington was number 19. He played quarterback at Auburn from 82 to 85. Jeremy Johnson, the Carver quarterback, played from Auburn 2013 to 2016. Daniel Cobb was not a bad quarterback for Auburn. He was 17th all-time. Number 16 all-time was Sean White. Passing quarterbacks at Auburn, Cam Newton played 1 year, threw for 2,900 yards. I don't remember this guy, Dad. Do you remember a guy named Loran Carter?
Yeah, Lauren Carter. That was back in the
Yeah, Lauren Carter.
Carter played.
66 to 68.
He played with Larry Blake, Lauren Carter did.
Yeah, he played right before Pat Sullivan.
This is an interesting name here. All-time Auburn passing leaders. Chris Todd originally committed to Troy, and then when Tony Franklin got the job at Auburn, he went to Auburn. So Chris Todd's 13th all-time at Auburn. Everybody remembers this guy. He got in a lot of trouble at Auburn, but everybody loved him. Jeff Berger was 12th all-time in passing.
Yeah. He's
interesting. Nick Marshall played 2 seasons, threw for 4,508 yards. Reggie Slack, everybody remembers him. He's number 9.
Yeah.
He's a former Auburn quarterback. Bo Nix.
He was a good one.
Bo Nix was 8th all time before he transferred.
Yeah,
And then,
I
after
don't think they appreciated Bo Nix as much as they should have. I really don't.
And then after that, you had a guy that everybody remembers, Jared Stidham, backup quarterback now for the Patriots. Stidham threw for 6,000 yards in 2 seasons.
Another transfer.
That's pretty good. Wow.
And then everybody remembers him. I know a bunch of guys I played with in high school at Charles Henderson. Nobody could tackle him the whole game at Blunt. Damien Craig.
He was amazing.
All-time lead passer at Auburn for 6,026
They would love to have
yards.
Damien Craig.
You know who
Damien Craig is their
Damien Craig came out the same time as Freddie Kitchens. And Freddie Kitchens was the hotshot #1 quarterback prospect in Alabama, but Freddie Kitchens was not in the league as Damien Craig.
And then number 4, all-time passer, everybody loved him. He was like, I guess, Mr. Auburn. Pat Sullivan threw for 6,534 yards. Was he a 3-year starter, Dad, or a 4-year starter?
Probably a 3.
No, he was 3 years. They didn't let freshmen play. Back then when he.
And then Auburn fans don't talk about this guy. Now, if he went to Hewitt-Trussville, all he ever did was win when he was at Auburn. He played for Tuberville. Brandon Cox threw for almost 7,000 yards at Auburn as a passer.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon
Cox
remember it.
He was nothing but a winner, man, when he played at Auburn. And then number 2 all-time passer at Auburn, this guy ended up going to the pros as a first-round pick. Jason Campbell threw for 7,300 yards. And then the #1 passer of all time in Auburn history, I'm shocked by this. I didn't realize he put up these kind of numbers from 1990 to 1993. Stan White threw for 8,000 yards at Auburn.
Wow.
Dan White is the all-time leader. Is that right?
Yep. That is correct. I was shocked by that.
Well, I'll tell you why, because I think Stan White redshirted 1 year, and I think he was a 4-year starter. So he got a lot more games to do that.
Yeah, that's a lot of yards, 8,000.
Sure is.
And that's your Auburn football beat.
Man, that's interesting, Michael. You always find interesting stuff. Phil, I want to tell my little. I lived in Opelika from 1972 to halfway through 76, and one of my fond, vivid memories was after we finished my 2nd grade year, maybe it was 3rd grade. My teacher was Miss Blackman, young, new teacher, real pretty. She lived in Auburn, and she loved her little students, and she had a party at her house in Auburn. But the highlight of the party, so the whole class went to her house in Auburn, but the highlight of the party was the Auburn quarterback at the time was a friend of Miss Blackman, and he came over to the party. And so all the boys got to play football with the quarterback, and I want to say it might have been Phil Gargas. I bet it was Phil Gargas. There's an outside chance it might have been Randy Walls from Brundage, because he was the quarterback right before then.
You know, they didn't throw a lot when Randy was the quarterback, but Randy was the quarterback when Auburn blocked the 2 kicks. And Randy had a great career at Auburn.
He sure did.
But now, Michael, you know what I'd like for you to do now, Mike? I'd like to hear who the top 20 rushers of all time at Auburn. Can you do that for us?
While you look that up, I'll tell you my other Opelika story that involves an Auburn athlete. You remember Harvey Glantz won the gold medal in the relay in the 1976 Montreal Olympics. It was kind of an upset. He was supposed to win the 100-meter dash, and I think he finished 4th or 5th. So he didn't medal there, but he got a gold medal in the relay. America used to win the 4x100 back in those days. Well, I remember Harvey Glantz came to my school not long after he got back from the Olympics and signed autographs and hung out with my, it was right before I moved to Mobile, so I remember hanging out with Harvey Glantz. who later became the track coach at Alabama, of all things.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Harvey Glantz was a young man from Central High School of Phoenix City.
He sure was.
That's where he came from, Phoenix City, Alabama.
You know, Alabama has had some great athletes come from Phoenix City, but Auburn has had a lot of great athletes come from Phoenix City, too.
Mike, can you put that together for us this morning?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Rushers of all time. This'd be fun.
That'd be quite a list, because Auburn is almost running back you.
That is. It's going to be very interesting to know how some of these ranked among the great rushing running backs of all time at Auburn.
Well, we can rattle.
Number 20 is the quarterback, Phil Gargas, who we were talking about, from 74 to 76.
You know, he rushed
for.
No, they didn't run. They didn't. They ran the veer. They didn't run the wishbone back then.
No,
he rushed for almost
You're right.
He rushed for almost 1,900 yards. It's all-time leading rushers in Auburn history. Never heard of this guy before. Cedric Mcintyre, running back from 73 to 76.
I've heard of him.
Out of Robert E. Lee High School. Slow down a second. Out of Robert E. Lee High School in Montgomery, I went and watched him play when he was a senior in high school. Cedric Mcintyre was a great player at Auburn.
He rushed for 1,992 yards. I do remember this guy growing up from 1980 to 1983, Lionel Little Train James.
Oh, boy. He was a big recruit out of Mobile.
No.
Rushed for 2,073 yards.
I don't think Lionel was a big recruit. He was almost like a walk-on, but he was tiny and nobody gave him a chance, and had a good career at Auburn. But he was fantastic in the pros. Basically, as a kick returner and as a catching the balls out of the backfield.
I want to say he played with Cincinnati, did he? Did he play with Cincinnati?
That was Brooks. He played for San Diego Chargers.
James played for San Diego, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I think he played with Cincinnati. I think you're wrong, Mike.
He might have later moved.
And then number 17, I remember this guy. He was great running back. James Bostick played from 91 to 93. He rushed for 2,084. I remember this guy, too. He was a Tuberville guy. Kenny Irons, running back from 2005 to 2006, rushed for 2,186 yards. This guy played more recently. Cameron Artis Payne, running back, rushed for 2,218 yards. Dow, we remember this guy because he ended up coaching for Troy. He coached Blakeney. James Joseph played from 86 to 1990. He's the 14th leading rusher in Auburn history, 2,264.
He's from Phoenix City.
Everybody remembers this guy from the national championship game from Auburn. He only played 2 years. Michael Dyer.
Yeah.
From 2010 to 2011, rushed for 2,335 yards. This guy, it seemed like played at Auburn for 10 years. Stacy Danley, running back from 87 to 1990. Stacy Danley rushed for 2,427 yards.
Didn't he become athletic director at Alabama State, or was that somebody else?
I think he did.
I tell you something about Stacy Danley. He was a big back. He was about 6'3". He was a big back. Bud Casey loved Stacy Danley. He coached.
And then this guy we know still plays in the pros. Carrion Johnson played at Madison Academy, running back at Auburn, 11th all-time, rushed for 2,494 yards.
Who does he play for now, Mike?
He got cut by the line, so he got picked up by somebody else. This is an interesting name here. I never would have thought this guy would have been top 10. Ontario McCaleb, running back at Auburn from 2009 2012. Rushed for almost 2,600 yards.
I've never even heard of this guy.
I think he's a little speed guy.
He was kind of like a little scat back.
Yeah.
I had no idea he put up those kind of numbers, though.
And what was his name?
Antonio McCaleb.
I've never heard of him.
And then this guy was a great running back at Auburn, and I think played in the pros for 14 years. Ronnie Brown, running back at Auburn, split carries with Cadillac from 2000 to 2004. Rushed for 2,700 yards.
No, that's Cadillac coaching for him.
Yeah, I think Ronnie Brown was a sideline reporter. Brent Fullwood, running back. Everybody remembers Brent Fullwood at Auburn. He's 8th all-time in rushing. with almost 2,800 yards. Stephen Davis, great Auburn running back, also great running back in the pros for a few years. From 1993 to 1995, Stephen Davis rushed for 2,811 yards. Then this guy was the great running back on the national championship team, or not national championship team, the team that lost the national championship to Florida State, Trey Mason, from 2011 to 2013, rushed for almost 3,000 yards. Another running back that played for Tuberville, Ben Tate, his fifth all-time rushing at Auburn, rushed for 3,321 yards. Then this guy, Dad, you talk about a lot, Joe Cribbs, is the fourth leading rusher in Auburn history.
From downtown Sullivan.
He rushed for 3,368 yards. Number 3 all-time, this guy played in the pros for several years too, James Brooks, rushed for 3,523 yards. Keep in mind, Bud Casey coached all these guys, didn't he, Dad?
He didn't coach Brooks. That was Doug Barfield.
Three of them played in the same backfield at Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't coach Brooks. That's right. Barfield did coach him. Coach Blaney might have coached Brooks.
Yeah.
And then the great Cornell Williams, 2001 to 2004, second all-time at Auburn rushing with 3,831 yards. And then
That was
who?
Cadillac Williams. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, you know who is number 1. Vincent Bo Jackson from 82 to 1985, rushed for 4,303 yards.
Yeah, he left early. He could have had one more year.
I'll tell y'all this. Half the time they were running the wishbone, and he was, everybody knew which way he was going to run. He didn't really do great things until they put him in the I-back field and they pitched it to him and let him run the daylight, and then that's when he did all the great yardage rushing.
You're right. Because he was a tailback in the wishbone, so you can't get a lot of carries, and they're all going one way. It's like kind of like Wilbur Jackson and Tony Nathan at Alabama. You wonder what would have happened if they were I-backs and got 25 carries.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
All right, we've officially talked too much about Auburn today.
I want to talk some more about.
Don't keep talking. Hey, listen, we're gonna talk about Auburn every day.
I know more about Auburn than people think I know about Auburn. Who is not on that list? Think about it.
All right, let's see.
William Andrews.
William Andrews is not on that list. It might be
that's right.
William Andrews was getting ready to have a Hall of Fame NFL career until he had a terrible knee injury.
Yeah. All right, let me tell you this.
I tell you another guy whose name is not on that list probably is that Rudy Johnson. He was a really good running back for Auburn.
Oh yeah, that little guy, Rudy Johnson.
Rudy.
Well,
William Andrews.
Cribbs and Brooks were all together there at Auburn together.
Brooks and they played in the same backfield together. Can you believe that?
Well, I don't think they ever put them all. I don't think they were all three on the field at the same time because they couldn't get them on the field at the same time. But
I don't know. I don't know. They read a lot of, but they played regularly. Let's say that at Auburn on the same team.
I remember. I remember that I loved their running style, even though they were playing for the wrong team. In my opinion, were Brooks. He was small, but man, he ran hard and just bounced off people. And then Fullwood was a really hard, impressive runner and had a great yards per carry average. I would say after Bo Jackson, if you look at yards per carry of Auburn running backs, I bet Brent Fullwood is second. Maybe first.
Hey, how about Ronaldo?
Yeah, a lot of people don't remember though that Bo Jackson had Tommy Agee blocking for him, and Agee ended up playing in the pros for years as a starting fullback.
And Bo Jackson was not a sensation, super hyped athlete coming out of high school. I guess Pat Dye knew what he was getting, but the running back in the state of Alabama everybody talked about was a guy named Allen Evans from Enterprise.
You're exactly right.
He went to Auburn, but he didn't play much. And then kind of a postscript to Allen Evans, his son later goes to Alabama, despite the fact that he grew up in Auburn and is now a great linebacker in the NFL.
Now, I will tell you this.
He didn't play for Tennessee last weekend. He must be hurt. Rashad Evans didn't play in that playoff game.
He's good.
Let me throw out a couple of things here. You're looking for guys that how about Ronaldo Sinclair Pennington from Troy? Do you have any stats on him?
That'd be interesting to see his stats.
I don't know. I'll have to see if I can pull that up.
For some inexplicable reason, Auburn makes Sinclair Pennington, who's 5'8", 5'9", 195 pounds, into a fullback. I never got that.
And the thing about it, he as far as speed goes, next to Bo Jackson, he's one of the fastest men ever to play at Auburn.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah. And now I'll tell you another great back that wasn't listed is the great one out of Alabama. He had a great career at Auburn, and Bud Casey always said that he was one of his all-time best running backs.
Tim Jesse
from Alabama.
Yeah, Charles Henderson. When I was a sophomore and Charles Henderson won the state championship, we opened the season against Opp and Tim Jesse and beat him pretty soundly.
You're right. But
here's who we out. Charles Henderson beat Tim Jesse and Opp, who he started. He was a running back at Auburn. Andrew Gilder at San Hope Elmore twice, who later played at Alabama,
right.
And Ted Horsted, who was the best of all of them, that played at Elba, that went to Alabama. Or is it Don Horsted? Ted Horsted, as his brother, went to Troy. Was an all-time great at Troy.
And in fact,
I'm looking at Sinclair's numbers at Auburn. His first year, 7 attempts for 13 yards. 96, 14 attempts for 37 yards. 5 receptions for 48 yards. I mean, these numbers are extremely low. 97, he played 12 games, had 27 attempts for 62 yards. He had 1 catch for -7 yards in 98. He only played 6 games. I think he was injured in 98. He had 13 attempts rushing for 38 yards, and then he had 4 receptions for 40 yards. So in his career, he had 150 yards rushing at Auburn, and he had 81 yards receiving. That's hard to believe, as phenomenal as he was in high school.
Yeah, and there's no question in my mind, maybe Marlow, maybe you could say Marlow was, but Ronaldo Sinclair Pennington, remember that name, Ronaldo Sinclair Pennington, in my opinion, was the greatest running back of all time at Charles Henderson High School. He was the second fastest man to ever play at Auburn. They ran a 4.19 40.
Wow.
40. And they couldn't find a place to play him. Can you believe that?
Well, he's the guy that would have been. He was the guy that would have been great in the transfer portal.
Yeah. Hey, Troy would have. Hey, could you see him sit back at tailback for Troy?
You need to pitch the ball to Sinclair. In one 8A game, they put him at tailback, I think.
That's right. I remember that.
And they pitched it to him and let him use his speed, and he rushed for about 100 yards in that 8A game.
Yeah, he sure did. I remember that.
I mean, Sinclair, he had that speed. Now, he didn't have a lot of juking ability and tackle breaking ability, but he had some.
Evidently, that was his problem.
But he still, it's very surprising that he didn't have. Yeah. Just with his speed alone, he could have had some 100-yard games at Auburn.
Out of all the guys you mentioned for Auburn, all the guys you mentioned, the guy that really was more prolific and had a bigger career was Richardson. You remember him? The running back?
Yeah.
He played for San Francisco all those years?
Yeah, great from Daleville, right?
Yeah, he's from Daleville.
Yeah, Tony Richardson.
He had a great career.
Yeah, what did he do at Auburn, Mike?
He was a running back / fullback.
I know this, but how many yards did he gain in college?
I don't think he ran a whole lot in college. He ran a little bit more in the pros, it seemed like.
Well, I want to say he played 13 years in the pros. He played mostly with San Francisco.
You know who else isn't on that list in Auburn? The Auburn list is Beasley, that played at Robert E. Lee High School.
He was a great receiver. Yeah.
No, the tailback.
Yeah, that's right.
He was the number one. the number one running back coming out of high school sensation. They moved him to fullback, and he had an okay career and played in pros, I think, but wasn't. But you never know. I mean, it's like
I'll tell you this.
It's like Jeremiah Castille's son was a sensation as a running back that came to Alabama, and they made him a fullback. And he was not anything super special. I think it's a different league. It's a different league when you get up in the SEC, man. High school don't matter.
Looking at Alabama, no question, the top 5 running backs of all time would be Kelvin Culliver from W.S. Neal and Brooks. Y'all remember him?
Yes.
Coach Bryant said, Calvin, keep his feet low to the ground. That's what he used to say about Calvin.
He's one of those running backs that didn't get a lot of carries, but averaged about 6 yards a carry when he did get it.
He played in the wishbone. He didn't get a lot of carries. You're right.
How about Tony Richardson played 16 seasons in the NFL from 1994 1994 to the New York Jets in 2010.
How many NFL players, especially running backs, have played 16 years? That's amazing.
I'm gonna tell you,
he was 6'1". He was 6'1", 240 pounds. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler in 2003, 2004, 2007. He also had 210 receptions in his career in the NFL, 3,270 all-purpose yards, 24 touchdowns. So he had an unbelievable NFL career.
Hey, let me just say this. Those are stats that will, I don't know if anybody anywhere has got stats like that. 16 years of playing pro football. And he played the blocking back mostly, the guy that did the most of blocking. And he played with Montana. Did y'all know that? He played with Montana.
Well, that fullback might be the most dangerous position in football because you're having the full head-on collision with somebody every play. I mean, that's why Kevin Turner had the tragedy he later had in his life.
They're saying right now they're saying an article about him. He is considered one of the best fullbacks in NFL history, having blocked for 1,000-yard rushers in 9 consecutive NFL seasons. So that means 9 straight seasons when he was the fullback, a running back rushed for over 1,000 yards.
And ladies and gentlemen, he's from Daleville, Alabama.
It'd be interesting to do a list of the best running backs from the Wiregrass or our region of the country. I mean, would you just count high school or college or pro? If you counted, the entire career, you'd put him at number 1.
You got to put high school. High school, you got to go with Stephen Coleman, don't you?
Yes, he would be on that list.
Yeah, but and Stephen made a mistake. He signed with Grambling.
He went to Grambling.
Is that right?
Well, he wanted to play for Eddie Robinson, I'm sure.
He wanted to go into Grambling, but
I'm sure he wanted to play. Eddie Robinson was a pretty good coach.
Well, I'm sure Stephen Coleman had grade issues. He couldn't get eligible and something.
We don't know exactly.
But he ended up transferring to Troy, and he ended up starting and running back at Troy, and was really productive.
And I'll tell you all this. And I was real close to Troy back then, and I even officiated a lot of the scrimmages. Let me tell you, when he did touch the ball, he made something happen. Even that during his career at Troy, he could. You could tell he was an exceptional runner because he always made something happen when he got the ball.
He did. He gained weight and didn't one that's quite as quick and explosive as he was in high school. But he didn't play a ton. But when he played, you're right. You could still see it.
Yeah. Michael, this is fun this morning. I hope everybody's enjoying it, and I like it.
Yeah, this is brought to you by the Panama City Beach Chamber of Commerce, Thomas's Donuts. Go get your donuts this morning down at Panama City Beach, Sunnyside Grill, best omelet on the beach.
That's right, and you know what? I'm fixing to ride down there and get one.
Well, hey, let's take. Speaking of businesses, let's thank all our sponsors. That I hope you're looking over my shoulder and seeing all the people that make this show possible. And let's take
Right.
a commercial break and look at some more of these good
Mike,
sponsors.
when we come back, let's look at the Crimson Tide. Let's see their quarterbacks and their running backs and see what we've got there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we could also do Troy University running backs. All right, we'll be right back after this.
At Cost Plus 10%, we offer your favorite brands at the best price. At Piggly Wiggly, we keep it simple. We price our products at cost, then add 10% at checkout. We carry all your favorite name brand foods, and we accept manufacturer coupons. Find us on Facebook and see our weekly specials.
In the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC. Shipping Wars is back and bigger than ever.
More work, more money.
These shippers have a long road ahead. Who will come out on top?
If we can get it there on time, we'll make some good money.
Shipping Wars. New episodes Tuesdays at 10. Only on A&E.
The Walmart Distribution Center in Brundage is now hiring. We've extended our $2,000 signing bonus until the end of January 2022. And you can go back to school with our Live Better You program. Apply online today.
We're back on the air. That was a quick coffee break. I just made it, though. Got me some new job. I appreciate Steve. We've got a new coffee maker here at the studio that makes some yummy coffee. It's one of these Keurigs. We used to have a Keurig, and we used it, and it made good coffee, but it was kind of expensive to keep buying those little packs. And so we went back to the old $22 GE coffee maker. But I still appreciate the Keurig coffee maker. What's our next data set you're going to give us, Michael? Do you got one teed up?
I was trying to find Alabama career rushing leaders. I've got only the top 10, though. I don't have the top 20, but I can give you the top 10.
I bet. Okay, I bet I could.
I know Dad will be upset because I can't find the orphan boy from Troy where he stands.
Well, he didn't carry the ball as much back then, but I can tell you that he had until recently, maybe Derrick Henry or somebody might have beat it, but he had the highest yards per carry average of any running back in Alabama history for a long time. So every time he got the ball, I think he was getting over 6 yards a carry. That tells you. I mean, that's back in the day when people ran the ball and they probably averaged 3 yards per carry. So he was just far ahead of his peers. But
yeah, I think the all-time leading running back in Alabama history now is Najee Harris.
Well, he played. The key in looking at these total yards is how many years did they play and stay, and how many games they played. So Najee was there for 4 years, and he started for 2 of them.
Yeah, that does make a difference.
Probably it would also be interesting to look at. I would look at yards per carry for career, and yards per game. You know, how much did you average per game in your career? Was it 100? Did you average 100 yards per game? But until recently, it was Auburn that was running back to you. But man, since Saban's been there, Alabama has been turning out the running back. Matter of fact, there's too many running backs in some years. That's why some great running backs transfer, and then they do great at their other schools, like this running back for Cincinnati, or the guy that's now the star for the New Orleans Saints. Ended up at Tennessee. Well, he started at Alabama. There's been times when I bet Alabama had 5 running backs on the practice field that all became significant players in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Look at Alvin Kamara.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, him.
Yeah, it looks like if you look at Alabama all-time leading rusher, it's like we mentioned, it's Najee Harris. It's all-time leading rusher at Alabama now with 3,843 yards.
So he averaged almost 1,000 yards per season, just under that. Okay.
Yeah, then after that, Derrick Henry at 3,591 yards. Sean Alexander held the record for several years, 3,565 yards. Bobby Humphrey held it for a long time, too, 3,420 yards. A guy we never talk about a lot, but he put up really good numbers. Kenneth Darby, he played for Shula, at 3,324 yards. And then another great Alabama running back is one of my favorites. I don't even know if he's played in the pros anymore. T.J. Yeldon, 3,322 yards. I'll never forget the screen pass he caught against LSU, and Alabama came back out of nowhere and beat LSU that night. Mark Ingram Jr., Heisman Trophy winner, 3,261 yards. Trent Richardson, 3,130 yards. And then this guy's the starting running back for the New England Patriots, Damien Harris, the ninth all-time at Alabama with 3,073 yards. And then Dad's favorite player of all time at Alabama, number 10 rushing leader of all time, Johnny Musso, 2,741 yards.
Musso, the Italian stallion. Musso, touchdown Alabama.
I've told y'all that I got his chin strap. The first college football game I went to was Alabama versus Miami in the Orange Bowl. It was a regular season game. I was probably in kindergarten, living in Fort Myers, Florida, and my dad took me. Dad had probably only been out of playing college football about 10 or 11 years. So after the game, we go on the field and go to the locker room, and they let us in. A lot of coaches still remember Dad, and I can still remember sitting and talking to Johnny Musso after that game, and he gave me his chin strap, which was a cherished possession until my mom finally threw it away.
And then the top 10 passers in Alabama history, Bryce Young barely played in 2020. Of course, he won the Heisman in 2021. Bryce Young is already thrown for 5,028 yards, so he's the top 10 passer in Alabama history. Number 9 is surprising. I didn't realize he threw for this many yards. Jalen Hurts, 5,626 at Alabama. That's not even counting what he did at Oklahoma.
No.
Jay Barker is number 8 all-time, 5,689 yards. Greg McElroy is 7th all-time at 5,691 yards. This guy shared duties with Tyler Watt. Andrew Zal threw for almost 6,000 yards at Alabama.
Wow.
Mac Jones
Andrew
barely
threw for 6,000 yards at Alabama.
He was good.
Yeah, Mac Jones is number 5 all-time. He only started basically 1 year and then started maybe 4 games after Tua got hurt. He threw for 6,126 yards. And then this guy's numbers are kind of low. I thought that he would be maybe even higher up. Brody Crowell, I guess he was injured for a year, threw for 6,382 yards. Tua Tagovailoa in 3 seasons is the 3rd all-time passer in Alabama history with 7,442 yards. And then this will be shocking, but he did start for 4 years at Alabama. John Parker Wilson threw for 7,924 yards at Alabama.
Golly.
Well, it's like Stan White being the all-time passing leader at Auburn because he started for 4 years.
And then the all-time leading passer, and this guy was nothing but a winner. I don't think people talk about him enough. A.J. McCarron threw for 9,019 yards at Alabama.
Golly. Oh, boy.
That's good.
That won't be broken anytime soon, I don't think.
Well, if Bryce Young throws, this is interesting you said that, because if Bryce Young throws for 4,000 yards, he will pass A.J. McCarron's record.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
You know, I'll give you some trivia on Alabama quarterbacks. If you look at career touchdowns, Andrew Zal has been robbed the career touchdown. I think I'm the only person in the world that notices this. There was one game, Alabama ran the option some, I think under Franchione. And Andrew Zal comes down on the option, and he pitches the ball to the running back who scores. And that running back was given a running touchdown. But I've watched that play several times. Andrew Zal pitched that ball at least a yard forward. He's behind the line of scrimmage.
It should have been a pass.
It should have been a pass. He should have got credit for a touchdown pass on that play.
Let me take
Then Dad, you'll like this stat. As far as single games rushing, Bobby Marlow is sixth in a game, rushed for 233 yards against Auburn in 1951.
Against Bobby Marlow, the orphan boy from Troy, ladies and gentlemen.
How many carries did he have to get that 233 yards?
I don't know. Maybe they'll tell us.
Yeah, but you know another thing about him, he played both ways. He was a running back and he was a linebacker. He played both ways.
Yeah. So I'm not able to find out how many attempts.
Well, I think for his career he averaged over 6 yards per carry, which is amazing for a run. And I think he had 1 year where he averaged almost 7 yards per carry.
And that was a record in Alabama for a long time.
Well, then you got to put it in context. I always compare it to what the next people or what the average was. So back then it was literally 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right, Mike? So most running backs would have averaged 3 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And there he was averaging 6.
I heard Stacy Ingram say something about Bobby Marlow one time. We were watching a baseball game at Alabama, and Cecil and Hoodie Ingram was the athletic director. And he came over and I was with Johnny Williams, and he told us some stories. He said, "I never worried about a thing because Marlow was playing linebacker on my side." He said, I didn't ever have to do anything because he knew Marlow was going to get him. He was an All-American linebacker and All-American running back.
Since Bobby Marlow's senior year led Alabama to the 1953 Orange Bowl victory, at the end of his college career, Marlow was the school record holder in rushing yards with 2,560 rushing yards at the University of Alabama. That lasted until 1971 until you-know-who broke it.
Musso or Bobby Humphrey?
Musso broke it in 71. Humphrey played in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So he held the rushing record at Alabama for,
18 years.
18 years. He just didn't get the ball a whole lot. So I think people that have watched our show for the last 2 years that didn't know about Bobby Marlow now know about him because we talk about him all the time and appreciate that. But the younger people, he was basically the Bo Jackson of high school and then college football, and he was from Troy.
Troy guy held a record for a long time. Albert Elmore Jr. Held the record for the longest touchdown pass in Alabama history. It was 88 yards to Bobby Luna. Bobby Luna caught it 88 yards for a touchdown, and that was the longest touchdown pass in Alabama history for a long time until Pierre Gould. You ever heard that name?
You're right.
Pierre Gould broke his record on a 99-yard touchdown play.
And I think it was later tied. Didn't the receiver for the Dallas Cowboys have like a 98-yard touchdown pass against Auburn in the Kick Six game?
Let's see. I don't know. I don't know that. I know this.
We'll give some defensive guys some credit. All-time interception leader in Alabama history. Who do you think that is?
Antonio Langham.
That's right. Rice is right. 19.
Tommy Wilcox.
No, Rice is right. He said 19. What about number 2? He's an older guy.
Hoodie Ingram.
Harry Gilbert, 16.
Harry
Gilbert had 16. Then Jeremiah Castile had 16. Jeremiah Castile had 16. This guy played in the pros for a long time. A lot of people talk about it. It was John Magnus. 16.
Yeah.
I guess you can say this in the TV, in our woke culture. One of the very rare white cornerbacks that was very good.
Dad, you might remember this guy, Steve Higginbotham, played from 69 to 1971.
Yes, sir. His daddy was a great, renowned Morris Higginbotham from Enterprise High School, who had all those great teams at Enterprise, ran the Notre Dame Box.
This career all-time interception leaders of Alabama. I remember this guy, Kermit Kendrick, had 14. George Teague, my favorite player maybe of all time, had 14. Robert Lester had 14. Tommy Johnson had 12. Kevin Jackson out of Dothan, Alabama, had 12. Simeon Castile had 12. Mark Barron had 12. Interesting stat here is Hughie Ingram had the most interceptions in a season, but is not in the top 10 of all-time interception leaders. In 1952, Hootie Ingram intercepted 10 footballs.
God. Yeah.
Mike, Alabama had a safety named Tommy Wilcox. How many did he have?
I'm not seeing Tommy Wilcox somewhere.
He had a lot of tackles. I remember Tommy Wilcox well. He came to Alabama. He's one of those many people that came to Alabama as a quarterback. And Coach Bryant made him a defensive back, but there were just all kind of great defensive backs Bryant had that were former quarterbacks.
The all-time tackling leader, you know that too, don't you, right?
Oh, is it probably? Well, it might be Wayne Davis.
Leroy Jordan.
No, it is Wayne Davis. Wayne Davis had 327 career tackles. Tom Boyd, I think they call him Thomas Boyd, had 324. And then this guy would have had more, but he was injured. C.J. Mosley had 319 in Alabama, so he almost had the record. And then Coach Sadler's favorite player, Woodrow Lowe, had 315.
Woodrow Lowe, what a great one.
You know, his Woodrow Lowe's brother, Eddie Lowe, who walked on, he had a lot of tackles too. He started at linebacker for Alabama several years.
How about D'Amico Ryan's the new, I mean, not the new, but is the current defense coordinator at the San Francisco 49ers, had 309 career tackles.
He was awesome at Alabama. Yeah, we forget him because he wasn't on good teams. Except maybe Shula, he might have been on one team that.
Interesting stat here, Ross. Listen to this. So Will Anderson Jr. has 24 and a half career sacks in 2 seasons. Derek Thomas is an all-time sack record leader at Alabama with 52 from 1985 to 1998. Everybody knows Will Anderson will only play one more year, but Will Anderson would legitimately had a shot of breaking Thomas's sack record.
If he did, he would might win the Heisman Trophy.
I'll tell you another great player at Alabama that you're not mentioning on defense. He wore number 4. Do you have any idea?
Number 4.
Alan Pizzatola. Alan Pizzatola.
Yeah, I remember Alan Pizzatola. He played for those late 70 Bryant teams. That's right.
That's right. He was a great one. Played safety.
Murray Legg. He was another quarterback.
Yeah, all-time tackle leader in a game is Leroy Jordan with 31. D'Amico Ryan's had 25 tackles against Arkansas. A guy named Mike Hall had 24 against Clemson. Wayne Davis had 24 against Texas A&M, and a guy named Leroy Cook had 22 against Mississippi State.
From Abbeville, Alabama.
From Abbeville, Alabama, Mike. Leroy Cook.
Most tackles ever in a season at Alabama's Woodrow Lowe were 134.
I heard a story about Pat Dyer. Somebody told about Leroy Cook. He was an All-American great player. He went to Auburn on a recruiting trip, and they asked Randy Walls to be his host, and that was a mistake because Randy Walls and Leroy Cook were huge rivals in high school, and I don't think they liked each other.
Yeah, right.
So Leroy Cook did not go to Auburn, and he went to Alabama and became an All-American.
There was a quarterback that played at Alabama, but he never played down a quarterback. He was signed with Alabama. He wore number 9. And he played safety for Alabama, and he was a good one. And I can't remember.
I remember a guy. You had Jim Bob Harris, Benny Perrin, Murray Legg.
Jim Bob Harris that's who I'm trying to mention. Jim Bob Harris. You remember him, number 9?
You know, Butch Hobson even he was a safety for 1 year in showing promise, and then they kept bouncing between the secondary and quarterback. He was like
he played quarterback. He wasn't a big time name, but he was a quarterback at Alabama. And of course, we know him as being a third baseman for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, you gave me a book on.
Dad, do you want to do Troy?
No, but I want to tell you one more thing about that you just talked about. Leroy Jordan made 31 tackles in the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma. the President of the United States was at that game.
Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy was at the game, and that game was where Leroy got the famous thing that Coach Bryant always said about Leroy. They said if it's between the lines, Leroy will get them. He makes that.
How about Bill Rice's dad was in that game?
No, that was Leroy was a class behind my dad, so Dad had just graduated, so that was the next year. But Dad played.
I thought your dad was on the '61 national championship team.
Yeah, but that was the next season. That was the '62 season that.
62 is when Leroy Jordan made 30.
That would have been the January 1st, 1963 Orange Bowl. But Dad and Leroy played for 3 years together and started with each other for 2 years. And I'll tell you, when Dad's senior year, that team in 11 games gave up a grand total of 25 points all season. I think they had 7 shutouts. Only 2 teams scored touchdowns on Alabama. And that was Leroy Jordan, middle linebacker, and Bill Rice, defensive end, among other Billy Neighbors, defensive tackle.
That's right.
All right, here's the top 10. Here's the top 10 all-time passing leaders in Troy University history.
Oh, that's great.
Number 10 is the current quarterback, Gunnar Watson, is thrown for 3,888 yards.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah.
This is a shocking number to me because I felt like he put up bigger numbers. Number 9 all-time is Kelvin Simmons. He threw for 4,000 yards, but he only played two seasons at Troy.
And Michael and Mike, we need to get him in the Troy Sports Hall of Fame, don't we?
Yeah, he's one of the most talked about guy out there that's not in it.
Okay, we'll do
that.
Then
these are all-time passing leaders in Troy history. This guy played from 1984 to 1987. A lot of people consider him the greatest of all time. A Troy quarterback, Mike Turk, threw for 4,174 yards.
No, he could.
He rushed for, Mike. How many yards did he rush for?
I can pull that up later, but that means he averaged about 1,000 yards passing a year.
But you know, he didn't pass. He didn't pass. You know what would be interesting with Turk's passing numbers is to see the average per completion, because when they did throw a pass, it went for big yards, man.
You're exactly right.
And
Michael Kelly from Troy was one of the good receivers.
It sure was. We don't talk about Michael enough.
He was a guy that was, a what-if kind of guy. If he would have not been injured, and he would have put up even bigger numbers than this. Caleb Barker out of Priceville, who played recently at Troy, for 4,793 yards from 2016 to 2019. And this guy, I think, really turned it around for Coach Blake. He was Omar Hogerbrooks. In just 2 seasons, threw for 5,376 yards. This guy came in after Hogerbrooks, had a great career. Levi Brown from 2008 to 2009 threw for 6,284 yards.
Yeah, he was really good.
And then Dad, the late great Sim Bird, his 4th all-time in passing at Troy, threw for 7,619 yards in 3 seasons. And then number three, he is in the Troy Hall of Fame, along with Sim Bird. Brock Nutter threw for 7,687 yards. He was a 4-year starter at Troy. And then this guy put up huge numbers. They don't talk about him a lot, but Brandon Silver's number 2 all-time with 10,684 passing yards.
That is something.
And then Dad, the bazooka from Kentucky, the bazooka from Paducah.
Yeah.
Great Coy Robinson. Listen to these numbers from 2011 to 2013. I'll go ahead and say this will never be broken. All he did was throw for 13,477 yards.
Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing.
13,477 yards. What is that? Almost like that's at least 3,000 yards.
Well, compare it to. Go back and compare it to the number 1 passing passer in Alabama and Auburn history. That'd be about 4,000 yards more than A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. McCarron had 9,019.
So 4,000 yards more. Wow.
Let me have something to say about this right here, Mike. when Robinson came to Troy, and ladies and gentlemen, Michael and I sat by him at a game in Middle Tennessee State, and we told him that he was so nonchalant and just nice as he could be, and we got to know him that day. Do you know that in high school he threw for 99 touchdowns in his senior year in high school? 99 touchdowns his senior year.
No, that's not. That can't be right.
No, hey, it is right.
His career, I bet his career.
I don't think it was 99. I think it was 93.
Well, how many games did he play in high school his senior year?
I think he led his team to the state championship.
So let's say he played 14 games. So he threw for 7 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, he did.
I think it was some crazy number like that.
I'm telling you, he threw for 90. I wanted to say 99, but the weird thing about Robinson, though, he was red-shirted and gray-shirted. So by the time he started at Troy, he was a junior in college. He had been here for 6 years. You're right, Mike. And what a player!
All-time Troy passing touchdown records by quarterback. Corey Robinson has 81 touchdown passes in his Troy career. He's number 1. Number 2 is Tim Bird at 79.
Wow.
Keep in mind, Tim Bird only played 3 seasons compared to Robinson playing 4.
That's right.
Brandon Silver's number 3 all-time with 71 career touchdowns. Brock Dover had 49. Caleb Barker had 41. Boy, Kelvin Simmons threw for 40 touchdowns, though, in 2 seasons. He's number 6.
Boy, he was a great player.
Omar Hogerbrooks had 39. Levi Brown had 38. Mike Turk threw for 30 touchdowns in 4 years. And then a friend of Dad's, Al Head, threw for 28 touchdowns in 3 seasons.
Hey,
Al Head, Charles Henderson High School, Al Head.
We don't talk about Al enough.
Al threw it to his tail, but that hurt his career.
And then all-time lead rushers in Troy history. Number 10 all-time, played from 87 to 1990. A guy named Tony Jackson, I kind of remember, had 2,326 yards.
Mike, they named it after him. They call him Touchdown Jackson, T.D. Jackson.
And then this guy was phenomenal against LSU. Troy will always remember, even though he had 2 fumbles in the game. Jordan Chun rushed for 2,346 yards. He's 9th all-time. Mm-hmm. And then, Dad, you remember this guy. He was a great little guy, little player. Little Eddie Coleman had 2,360. He's 8th all-time.
Well, he was out of Thomasville, Georgia, and he was a great one.
And then this guy was a great player out of Luverne High School. Aaron Gregory rushed for 2,417 yards.
How much?
So he is 7th all-time. Then this guy was a phenomenal player out of Dothan High School. Started 4 years at Troy. Joe Jackson rushed for 2,418. He played fullback and running back. And then the top 5 all-time rushers in Troy history, the great Mike Turk rushed for 2,533 yards in 4 seasons at Troy.
As a 5'6", 156-pound quarterback.
Isn't that something?
And then this guy, a lot of people don't talk about it, but he ended up playing in the pros for about 6 years, even though he got beat out at Troy his senior year. DeJuan Harris rushed for 2,636 yards. He's 4th all-time at Troy. He got beat out by this guy who ended up playing ahead of DeJuan Harris his last 2 years. Sean Southward rushed for almost 2,800 yards.
Isn't that amazing?
Troy. And then this guy I worked with for a while back in the day, good guy, big Troy supporter. From Elba, Alabama, Ted Horsten, 2nd all-time leading rusher at Troy. From 1983 to 1986, he rushed for almost 3,000 yards. And then number 1 of all time, this guy was a big physical running back, and he owns the record. From 2001 to 2004, DeWitt Betterson rushed for 3,441 yards.
He played in the pros.
Yeah, that's right. But that's good stuff, Mike.
I can remember. I've talked before about being on the sidelines and what a difference it makes for your perception of how violent the game is. And I can distinctly remember a watching a DeWitt Betterson run. I was probably taking pictures, and him just getting up a full head of steam and just running over some defensive back right at the sidelines and just thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, and I also remember thinking that guy is a man. He can play anywhere, and he later played in the NFL.
And here's some more familiar names you'd like that. All-time reception leaders in Troy history. Number 10 is the guy that you watched play. Doug Taylor is number 10 all-time with 114 career receptions.
Great tight end for Troy on the national championship team. He deserves to go in the hall one day.
Of course, I grew up with his daughters, Kelly and Tiffany and Julie. And then Chip Reeves. This guy could fly. Wide receiver at Troy had 121 career catches from 2008 to 2012. This guy played in the pros. Chandler Worthy from 2011 to 2014 had 137 receptions. Keep in mind, this guy transferred out of Troy last year. Played 2 seasons at Troy. 7th all-time is Kalen Geiger at 141 receptions.
Could have used him this year.
This guy is the current receiver coach at Troy from 2004 to 2007. Keep in mind, he played minor league baseball for 7 seasons, so he didn't make it to Troy until he was about 25 years old. Gary Banks is 6th all-time with 155 yards receiving. Dad, you remember this guy?
Gary played this.
Yeah, he played minor league baseball. He came to Troy when he was about 25. Then you remember this guy, Vince Green, from 1967 to 1970, had 160 catches at Troy. Then this guy was
a great one.
Troy.
He was a great one. Yeah.
This guy was
the Hall of Fame. We need to get him in there too.
This guy was a great player at Troy. Number 4 all-time in catches, Jason Sample with 161.
He was a physical receiver. He was a great one.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy's a big physical receiver at Troy. Played the pros for a little while. Eric Thomas had 197 career receptions at Troy. He's 3rd. And then, Dad, you know this guy very well. Number 2 all-time in receptions at Troy with 215. Played from 1966 to 1969. Dad, you want to give the answer?
Teddy Griggs?
No, Danny Grant.
Oh, that was a great Danny Grant. You're right.
From 66, he caught 215 in his career. He's 2nd all-time. And then number 1, you guys should know who's number 1 all-time receiver as far as catching at Troy.
Guy from Eufaula?
Yeah, that's right. Jarrell Jernigan had 262 career receptions from 2007 to 2010.
Boy, he was electric.
I realized that. That was great. And, Danny Grant also caught the most passes in one game. He caught 16 against McNeese one night. And then
Danny Grant is the all-time career leader in touchdowns with 44. Not even close to whoever's 2nd. And then he also single season he had 14 in 66, and he had 14 in 68. He also had 10 in 67. And then single game record, he had 5 touchdown passes against McNeese State he called.
Well, I can think of 2 receivers from Charles Henderson that had good careers at Troy. Julius Pittman had a really good career. Started several years as wide receiver. And then Michael Kelly, that was 1 year behind me in school, was a tight end. You know, I bet if Michael was playing today, he would be one of those tight ends that can also play, split him out.
He wasn't a big. He wasn't big. No. You're right. But he was a solid player.
And you want to hear something crazy, Don? The all-time leading tackler in Troy history, and this is just phenomenal, the records this guy had. From 1985 to 1988, who do you think is the all-time tackling leader in Troy history?
Oh, boy.
85.
This guy had 198 tackles in a season. I mean, that's almost got to be a record.
I bet it from Enterprise.
No,
you're talking about
Garrett Clementa.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a great one. You're right.
You're thinking about Tim Tucker that played with on Coach Bradshaw's teams.
And then the second all-time is a guy named Robert Bradley, who was a great player. He had 465 career tackles.
They were great.
Outside chance this record could be broken. I don't know if he can get this many tackles. Carlton Marshall has 430, so he'd need 133 to tie Clementa.
Pimento had 4 years to do it too. Yeah, that's right. I believe so.
Yeah, well, Marshall's about to play his 5th. But then Anthony Rabb, this guy we talk about all the time out of Mobile, had 407.
Oh, what a great player he was. Straight A student from Bagger, Alabama, Bagger High School.
Well, we have had some great athletes that have come through Troy, and we're so happy that they all chose Troy and had these great careers. We need more. Keep coming.
This might be hard to do, but take a look at.
Troy had a guy I've never heard of named Kenny Craig.
I've heard of it.
Kenny
Craig in 1980 had 20 sacks for Troy in the season.
He played defensive end. He came out of Lanier High School. He's a big-time accountant in Montgomery now. And we don't see him much, but you're right. That was a great.
Well, he played for Coach Bradshaw, and that I can tell you that 1980 team was quarterbacked by Willie Tullis, and they started the year 8-0. Charles Henderson was 8-0. Alabama was 8-0. So all the teams I cared about were undefeated late into the season.
Yeah.
And then Troy lost a very close game to North Alabama and a very close game to Jack State, which was a real downer but that was a really, really good team. I remember it well, and I remember him.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've loved every minute of today's show because we highlighted some of the great players in Alabama history and Auburn history and in Troy history. I've loved this show today.
Me too. I hope.
And Mike, we got to get the folks in the gym this weekend. We got to fill the gym up this weekend because not only did they beat us yesterday, South Alabama, but they acted up quite a bit after the game. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things where Troy's pride, I'm sure, is kind of hurt, and Coach Cross, I'm sure, is going to get these guys motivated. And hopefully, it'll be the biggest crowd of the season.
Well, it sure should be. It sure should be.
6 o'clock. Call Troy University or go online. What is it? Trojan Athletics. Trojan. What is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Also remember Alabama plays the top 5 Baylor team in Tuscaloosa tomorrow as well. That game will be on national television. So Alabama Baylor in the Big 12 SEC showdown.
Yeah. But we need to get out to Trojan Arena and support the Trojans and see. The thing about it, you can tell that South Alabama doesn't like us, and they because they really made a big to do about that win Saturday.
I tell you,
Thursday night.
You're going to see some good basketball and some fantastic athletes if you go to that game. So Steve's telling us we got to wrap up. So thanks to all our sponsors. Appreciate everybody watching. Mike, I think you might be at the beach on Monday, or you might be back here. But either way, we'll have a show Monday morning. And
we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there, right there. And of course, we appreciate all of you folks watching and listening this morning on our show. We've had a great show. We'll see you Monday morning, bright and early, for Today in LA.